right, people. Mr. Wright here with lesson 8 for clarinet, where we'll be talking about single eighth notes and eighth note rests. In lesson 7, we learned how eighth notes divided each beat into two equal parts, the downbeat and the upbeat. Those eighth notes always appeared in groups of two. See right here? A group of two, joined together by a single bar. There's our single bar. But what if we only want to play a single eighth note all by itself, like this guy right here? That means there also needs to be a single eighth note rest to take up the other half of the beat. So here's an eighth note rest. All right. So we have two eighth notes right here. Normally they're joined together if you have a group of two of them. Like I said, you can have four of them, and there's that bar. But what if you just want an eighth note by itself? You cut this guy out right off right there, get rid of this eighth note, and this little bar here, it starts to droop down to where it looks like that. Some people call it a flag on the stem. But you got an eighth note with a stem, little flag, or it's just a droop down bar because there's not this one there to support it. You can think of it that way. But it's all by itself. So it kind of just curls up into fetal position. So sad. All right. But the way you would play this, and now remember, this eighth note, it only takes up a half of a beat. This is the first half of the beat, and it's followed by this little deformed looking little seven called an eighth note rest. Half a beat of sound, half a beat of silence. This is the first half of beat one, the second half of beat one. Here's the downbeat, here's the upbeat, like one and. So you're resting on that and. So that makes that first half of the beat kind of a short note, that little eighth note right there, kind of short. It's like a staccato quarter note almost. So, and let me find that first F sharp. All right. So that's our F sharp, 1, 2. And notice I jumped straight over here because we're just resting. It's a 1 and 2, right? 1 and 2. You're just resting on the upbeat. So you flow right into that next quarter note, that next beat, whatever it is, because this doesn't take that long. It's only a half a beat of rest. So 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and, see that comes on the end. 1 and 2, 3, and we rest it up on the upbeat. 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this just plays short notes on beats 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. See how that flows? Kind of fast. It's just another way of writing. We could have written two quarter notes here on beats 1 and 3 and put a little staccato dot underneath it to make it a short note. But sometimes you'll see it written this way, just an eighth note. So F sharp, or 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4, and 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So, like I said, this single eighth note only takes up the first half of the first beat. And let's see here. What I did here in number 2 is I put a little bracket around this eighth note and this eighth note rest to show you where beat 1 is. Here's the first half of beat 1. Here's the second half of beat 1. We're playing on the downbeat and we're resting on the upbeat, right? And notice that we've got this little bar right there is connecting these two eighth notes, but this despicable eighth note rest is coming between. Good friends. So he's got two eighth notes right here, or the way that, I did it. And I've got an eighth note rest in between. So that's going to put this eighth note on this downbeat of beat 1. This eighth note comes on beat 2. This eighth note comes on beat 3. They're all on the downbeats, and you've got an eighth note rest in between them. So a half a beat of sound, you rest on the upbeat, play on the downbeat, rest on the upbeat, play on the downbeat, rest on the upbeat, etc. So you're just going da, 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 da with short little eighth notes, and you're resting on the upbeat, like da, 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 right? Well, I won't say that. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So this would be played 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2. Let me move my mouse again. 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. These are short notes followed by an eighth note rest, but these you hold out for the full note value. These two quarter notes, they take up the whole beat. So we'll go da, 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 right? So da, 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 da. And like I said earlier, I think it was the last lesson, when you see just a whole measure like this, you don't have to look at every last note. You just kind of analyze it and say, oh, I'm going to go back. Remember, this F sharp carries through the measure and it affects all these other Fs, making them F sharp until you hit the bar line. And then it goes back to what your key signature says. We'll get into that later. But, and then we have to introduce another F sharp. Once we cross that bar line, it's like a force field that zaps away all of our accidentals, flats, sharps, natural signs. And it goes back so that we have to introduce an F sharp again in this next measure. So, but like I was saying, you just look at this whole measure, kind of analyze it, take a picture, say, oh, I'm just going back and forth playing straight eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you know the measure's over if you're counting in your mind. So 1, 2 and 3, 4 and see what happened here? 1, 2 and we're just resting on this upbeat. 1, rest, 2 and 3, rest, 4 and this next measure, same thing we had over here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 3 right here. This is super interesting because you got just straight quarter notes on the downbeat. Dun, 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 dun. Take up the whole beat. But here we rest on the downbeat with an eighth note rest, and we play only on the upbeats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and remember seeing your friends dance? A. That's what's going on here, right? You're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? Sounds like a march almost. And then, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. See how fancy it gets here? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So you're resting on this. This is the downbeat of 2. Here's this. This is all of beat 2 right there. You plan on beat these two eighth notes, beat 1. These two, this eighth note rest, and this eighth note is beat 2. So you rest on the downbeat of 2. You play on the upbeat of 2. So it's 1 and right, 1 and just like that. You got to be able to feel that upbeat. 1 and dun dun bum bum. So you come in on the upbeat again right here. That's why this exercise is so important to feel. There's a lot of this in music, okay? So you're going to go rest and 2 and 3 and 4 and you got to recognize, oh, this is beat 1. Here's beat 2. I'm going to rest on the downbeat. I'm going to play on the upbeat. Here's beat 3. These two guys right here. I'm going to rest on the downbeat of 4. So that's why you got to be counting in your mind, right? So 4 and 1. So it's this measure right here is 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Super important, that exercise right there. Let's move on. And like I said, to keep track of where you are, you need to count the 4 beats in each measure. And when you're resting on the downbeats, you just count those beats softly and say the and louder, like I was doing just a while ago. I'm popping this and right there a little bit louder as I sing it. So it's 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and come over here. Let me fix my mouse. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Number 5. We're going to start soft. Anytime we see a crescendo, just automatically program your brain, start soft. Then we got C, F sharp G, or 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Right? I'm going to go do that slower. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 4. So it's 1, 2 and 3 and 4. We're resting on the downbeat of 2, beat 2. This is these two right here. The eighth note rest, eighth note. That's beat 2 right there. Here's beat 3 right there. You rest on the downbeat, play on the upbeat. So if you're tapping your foot, you go 1, 2 and 4, right? 1, 2 and 4. right? And then it does the same. Oh, it's a little bit different here. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and so you're playing. You rest on the downbeat of 2, play on the upbeat of 2, rest on the downbeat of 2, 3, and you play on the upbeat of 3. So beat 3, you got to come in on the upbeat. So in that measure, you're going 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and right. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and okay. And then same things a little bit. It's like the same thing we had over here. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Over here, same thing that we had. It's a little bit different. Okay. I put a little bit of different variation here. Uh, okay. Let's try this one. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So hopefully you understand the importance of these eighth note rest on the downbeats and the eighth notes on the upbeats. And of course, it could be the other way around. You could be playing an eighth note on the downbeat, resting on the upbeat, like right here, number 2. Dum, 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 dum. Or it could be the other way around, resting on the downbeats, playing on the upbeats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right. So let's try this with a metronome from the beginning. All right. And I do have my metronome set on 90 instead of 80. You may want to practice it at 80. This is just, I just kind of put it there for somebody just wanting to practice by themselves real slowly. It's a good tempo to go at. But to make things click along, we're going to do it at 90 for right now. Here's number 1. 1, 2. Two, 3, 4. 2. All right, here comes number 2. Number 2, we're playing these eighth notes, remember, on the downbeat, right? So this one's just a kind of a downbeat kind of an exercise. And ready, number 2. 1, 2. All right, now number 3, we turn it around. All right, here's straight quarter notes for the first measure. Second measure, we rest on the downbeat and play only on the upbeats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and right. So, and then it does it again here. And then we pop it just the second half of this measure, just popping upbeats, resting on the downbeat, playing the upbeats. Okay. So here's number 3. 1, 2. All right. Now moving along to number 4. See what we got here. Oh, we're gonna right here. We're playing only on the upbeats. We're resting on the downbeat of 3, resting on the downbeat of 4, playing only on the upbeat. And the same thing, the second half of this measure, and kind of right here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and and see a lot of ands. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and right, and it kind of just does that throughout. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2. I tell you what, I'm going to slow the metronome down because they're 80. All right. And if you just got to know where that upbeat is so you won't rush the next downbeat. Here's number 4 at a slower tempo of 80 beats per minute. And a 1, 2, number 4. So you can hear the metronome nailing the downbeats, and I play exactly on the upbeats. Bum, dun, 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 like so. All right. Number five. Number five. What's going on here? Oh, popping upbeats right here on the second half of this measure. See, we can see the middle of the measure. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. See, and 4, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's start soft. Number five. I'll keep going at that slow tempo. 1, 2, 3. All right, look at number six there. C, C, rest and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2. Let me move my mouse again. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, number six. 1, 2, 3. 3, 4. All right, so that heads up lesson 8 with all the single eighth notes, whether they're on the downbeat or the upbeat, and the eighth note rest that accompany them, and how all of that works. Super important exercise. And of course, the backing track that I've written for this thing and recorded, it's really cool. I think you'll enjoy it. Lesson 8, though.